And here I am. I'm fresh. I'm still in the deli. I got mustard stains on my shirt. And I get cast in this role. And Marty liked my nickname, so he uses my real name in the movie, Johnny Roastbeef. I end up working the first day of the shoot was the death scene of Franny McGee, rest in peace. She played my wife. She was great. Her and I in the
pink Cadillac,
dead. That's the first day of the shoot. They sent a photographer and reporter from the Daily News, and they interview Franny and I, like a quick one right out of the car, right out of the scene. Sure enough, the next day, we're on page 6 in the Daily News. Marty Scorsese's project, Warner Brothers shooting a movie. I'm in my deli. I had no idea. I get a call 5 o'clock in the morning. There I am. I'm getting my grill ready. Mikey Mule, the dynamite handler in the neighborhood, retired. He calls up, "Hey, Johnny, you come good in the paper." I said, "What?" And I look in the paper, and there I am, right out of the car with the bullet holes in my head.
Oh,
right?
my God.
But wait a minute. My aunt calls my mother, and she thought they killed me. She said they killed Johnny Boy. She goes, no, he's doing a movie. What doing a movie? He's an actor now. I mean, this is what happened. And they and my friends they saw me on the train in the car. They thought they plugged me. They said, they got beef. They got him. Nah, it's funny. But that's really...
At least you were in a good car, though.
I was in a Cadillac.
Cawfee Talk. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Cawfee Talk, where today the coffee is hot and the guest is iconic. I love this man sitting to my right. Welcome to Cawfee Talk, Johnny. I'm going to say it, Roastbeef. Because that
Hi.
is.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Cawfee Talk.
Cawfee Talk. I mean, you can't get more New York than Johnny Roastbeef from Harlem.
Yeah, the old neighborhood, Harlem, East Harlem.
That's where it all started, Johnny.
Yep.
Tell us.
Yep. East Harlem, yeah. So just to let you know, we're not in Beverly Hills now, but we're not far. So East Harlem, the zip code is 10029, and it's called Hell's Gate Station for the famous bridge over the Harlem River, which becomes the East River at that point. The railroad bridge built in 1917, famous bridge, a beautiful arch and just an architectural beauty. And so that's Hell's Gate Station was named after the bridge, 10029. And I end up in Beverly Hills, 90210. It just happens the numbers are the same, but
when you said it now, you had said it before when you walked in, I just realized it was the same numbers.
Same
That's why
numbers, same numbers.
Because I always say I went because I'm right in Mid-City West, but I'm right in front of the Beverly Hills sign. You know where I am.
Right.
So I say I went from the BX to the BH.
Yeah.
Is what
but there's a lot of BS in BH.
There's a lot of BS, everywhere in between.
Yeah.
Everywhere in between. But Harlem guy, so I mean, obviously actor, you're a writer. And not just in a book that you will talk about, but you've sent me scripts. I mean, like, you really have like full circle in this industry as like so talented.
Well, the thing is, God-given talent. I went to St. Anne's School, thank you, on 10th Street, still there. And, it's God-given talent. I've written scripts. But if I didn't stumble into being an artist, which I never knew about until I was about 39, 40 years old.
No.
Yeah, I never dreamed of being an artist. I was married with 3 kids cutting Provolone at 2nd Avenue. What artist? You're nuts how to make a living. I got 3 kids over there depending on me. I got a Sicilian wife that's ready to stab me in the neck. Are you nuts?
I know all about that.
Yeah, well, what artists?
So wait, I didn't know that.
So when I did Goodfellas and I found out I had this talent to act, which I don't know where it came from. But then when I had the deli in Harlem, when I had my store, Johnny Superhero, the people used to say, "Johnny, we're not only coming in for the sandwiches and the coffee, we're coming in for the show." It never dawned on me that, there was a show going on, So the writing came out of the acting, because who would have started, I had an idea for my first script, which was called There Was No Pizza in Kabul. It's a hysterical script. I still have the script, but You know, I
funny.
wrote it in 2003, right after 9/11. So there was a lot of, I sent it to Warner Brothers. They liked the whole idea, but, there's soldiers getting killed. We can't have a comedy because it's a romantic comedy. Anyway, that all came about when I saw a National Geographic show, and I got the idea in my head, what if this kid, instead of growing up by Penn State University, he was like smuggled out of Afghanistan. What if he grew up in Brooklyn and he became the son of a wise guy, and then that whole developed. And I asked people to write it for me because I never dreamed I had the talent to write.
So you had this idea before acting? No.
No, while I was here in Hollywood, the 2003, while I was here, and they said, Johnny, write it yourself. I says, I don't know how to write. No, write it yourself. And I kind of taught myself how to write the screenplay. I made every mistake in a book, but with the help of a lot of generous, talented people out here, they said, no, Johnny, you told the story. Now show the story because it's a screenplay. Okay. And then it's to me, it's a great script. It's a great script. It hasn't been, I'm going to send it to Warner Brothers again if I get it again. But it's
Perhaps
a romantic,
now's the time.
a romantic comedy. It's good. And now from that, I wrote 5 other scripts. From that, everybody, when I'm in Rayo's, I'm in the restaurant, I'm kind of like maitre d'. I walk around the room. I still don't know what I do there. I'm there 11 years. I just break balls at every table. Somebody gave me a title. They call me the table terrorist. I said, isn't that rather extreme? No, but it's in a charming way. Yeah, okay. So anyway, now I'm writing the book, 1029 to 90210.
I love that.
And it's tough because writing about yourself, it's a whole different genre, and writing a screenplay and writing a book, man, there's a Grand Canyon of differences there. So I'm coming along with it.
Is it emotional?
It is emotional. It's comedy. It's drama. It's everything that you get in life. I mean, I went through a divorce, my children, all that, and that's going to be in the book. And I have to do it. I have to put it on the page in a way that depicts the hurt and the feelings, but at the same time, I want to protect people that are surviving this because I don't want to really be negative on the situation. And it was very negative,
Well, I mean, a lot of times it is, right? So but it's also life, and it's also super relatable.
Yeah.
Because everybody goes through it.
Yeah.
So wait, my favorite part is I didn't even know I could act till Goodfellas. Oh, you can act till one of the most iconic movies directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Robert De Niro. Like, how does Goodfellas happen then?
The funny thing about it is it's like getting struck by lightning. I'm there with the first of all, look at how the stars line up in an industry that is like, you have to make it in this business, you have to kind of hit the lottery. It's like so difficult. And here I am, I'm fresh, I'm still in the deli, I got mustard stains on my shirt, and I get cast in this role. And Marty liked my nickname, so he uses my real name in the movie, Johnny Roastbeef, and I end up working the first day of the shoot was the death scene of Franny McGee, rest in peace. She played my wife. She was great. Her and I in the pink Cadillac, dead. That's the first day of the shoot.
First day you had to play dead?
No, I played dead is easy.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting in, but they sent a photographer and reporter from the Daily News, and they interview Franny and I, like a quick one right out of the car, right out of the scene. And I have no idea. I tell them, spell my name right. And sure enough, the next day, we're on page 6 in the Daily News. Marty Scorsese's project, Warner Brothers shooting a movie. I'm in my deli. I had no idea. I get a call 5 o'clock in the morning. There I am. I'm getting my grill ready I'm getting the coffee. I'm getting, 3 o'clock in the morning. You're already in high gear. And Mikey Mule, the dynamite handler in the neighborhood, retired. He calls up, "Hey, Johnny, you come good in the paper." I said, "What? What are you talking about, Mikey?" "You're in the newspaper." Nah, I hang up the phone. I run around the corner. I was on 57th Street. This is when I was downtown, and I had the deli. I run around the corner of 57th Street, and I look in the paper, and there I am, right out of the car with the bullet holes in my head.
Oh
right?
my God!
But wait a minute, my aunt calls my mother. And she thought they killed me. She said they killed Johnny Boy. She goes, no, he's doing a movie. What doing a movie? He's an actor now. I mean, this is what happened. And they and my friends they saw me on the train in the car. They thought they plugged me. They said, oh, they got beef. They got him. Nah, it's funny. But that's really...
At least you were in a good car, though.
I was in a
Right.
Cadillac. Yeah, I was in a Cadillac. So, and it's just... I mean, these are the things that are going to go in my book because they're true, they're honest. And the pink Cadillac, that's another story. In 1985, we used to go to a place called Saints Cafe in Teaneck, New Jersey, right over the bridge. Little Jerry, rest in peace, my pal, forever, a brother from another mother. We used to go and get in the car, and 12 minutes later, we were in Saints Cafe, and we knew the girls that opened the place, and it was a restaurant, and it would turn disco at 9:30. And we were there 8 o'clock. We got the seats at the bar because all the tomatoes came in on Thursday night, and they, and then we had it was like unbelievable. And we used to have a couple of stools for them when they come in. They had nowhere to sit. Honey, have a drink, And we had to. And what do you think my song was in that place? Pink Cadillac, and that's 4 years before Goodfellas. Pink Cadillac was my song. Jeannie, the bartender, used to go, "Beef, your song."
From the roast beef to the car, you were meant to play
I
that
guess
character.
So. I guess so.
No, you were in L.A. when you got that.
No,
you were in
New York.
Harlem. Wait, you said you were in
No, I was
Harlem. But so then what? How do you get that?
Well, Frankie
Can we tell the story?
Pellegrino.
Oh yeah,
Frankie
Rayos.
Pellegrino from Rayos, rest in peace, my buddy. He says. I was dabbling with the acting thing in my head. I was at a seminar because I was going through with the divorce. I was really bugged out. And at a seminar, people heard me talk. I was so nervous because I didn't know what to talk about. It was supposed to be about what the seminar has done for you. What did you get out of the seminar? I didn't know what to say. And there was 5 people on the stage that the people from the seminar elected to talk about it. And we were allowed to invite guests. So I had 300 people at the Holiday Inn on 57th Street, the West Side, in the audience. I invited Jerry Mondigamelo, rest in peace, and he brought his girlfriend with him. I used to call her the big-titted singing canary, She was an airline stewardess, and she was beautiful. Anyway, now the people go on stage, and the first guy, he says, "Well, I'm here in New York City from Tennessee, the hills of Tennessee, and what I got out of the seminar is I was dyslexic, and now I used to sell encyclopedias. Now I got a great job in real estate. I'm with Tish." Hickman, Gilman, Tish, Realty, and a big success story. I said, holy shit. I'm sitting over there. I'm going, Mom. And the second girl goes up. She says, I always dreamed of being a concert maestro. I'm gonna direct the music and a concert. And sure enough, I'm in Newark, New Jersey. I just got a thing to orchestrate a concert in Newark, New Jersey, big city concert. Now I'm saying to myself, what am I going to tell them? I cut Provolone better? My head is like, So instead of I was supposed to be 5th, they put me 3rd. So they really caught me off guard. All right, Johnny, your turn. Now I go to the mic. I'm going, hey, listen, I don't know what I said to these people. I said, look, I'm in my deli on 2nd Avenue. I'm going through a divorce. I want to kill my wife. I don't know what I said. They roared in the audience. They roared. And I connected with them. But even though I didn't... Yeah, I touched them. Let's put it that way. I don't know how.
But I'm going to tell you how. You were authentically you. And you were so you, and that's
I can't make up anything.
No, you walked in here so you. I'm like, this is why I love him.
And they at the end of the seminar, people came up to me and said, Johnny, you're in the wrong business. You should be an entertainer. I said, what are you talking about, entertainer? I got 3 kids. And I'm going crazy. No, you in the... So Jerry, Montegamel, rest in peace, his girlfriend was trying to fix me up with her girlfriend, right? Now, remember, I'm separated. I'm fresh off the banana boat with divorce. And so we go on a date with the girl. Now, the girl was not for me. Pretty girl, but, too sophisticated. But she loved me. She said, and she worked in an acting school. So she said to me, she said, listen, she said, I'm going to set you up an interview. She says, but I'm a speech therapist in the school. You don't need any help with that. Thank you very much. I don't know if I even speak English properly. She says, you're perfect for the character and all that. I said, okay. She sets me up with the school. It was the 3 of us studio over on 19th Street, right? Joan C. was the director of the whole school. Beautiful woman, right? So they set me up to audition a class, okay? I'm breaking my ass with eggplant parmesan in the deli. I had catering. I had things going on. I made my way down to the school, 8 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night, and I sit. I go to the interview. This was in the daytime. I had to meet with with one of the directors of the school. So I sit down with him, and he goes, so what's your background? So I looked at him, and I says, what's my background? What's your background? You got a school. You're asking me to come over here. What's your background? He says, I'll be right back. He goes and gets a copy of a commercial. He says, here, read this. I'll give you 5 minutes. Don't memorize it. Just read it. And boom. He gives me a time to come to a class after I do that. Okay. I go to the class. I sit there. I'm in the back. I'm ordering the class. And the instructor was up there, some woman, nice-looking woman, maybe in mid-50s. She's doing the class. There's about 10 kids in there, 10 students acting. And every time she would say something in the lesson, she's looking at me in the back. And I'm going. Finally, they take a break. She comes over to me. She says, So, who were you under? I says, under? What do you mean? Who instructed you? How did you learn? Under what? I said, I learned under the Brooklyn Bridge. She walked away, mozzarella. So boom. At the end of the thing, they take me into class. Now they put me in, very elementary, So I go Wednesday nights or whatever it was, 19th Street. The first time I go up there, and I do a little scene, I don't know what it was. Joan C. comes down, and she grabs me. She says, listen to me. You're in the wrong. You got to be. I'm going to put you with some, veteran people, this and that. And not only that, you don't pay any tuition. She said, you're what we call a natural. This is Joan C. I said, natural, okay. I'm saving money. That class that I did, and we were doing, at the end of that class, Jeannie Gubow comes from Cunningham Escatapini, the #2 agency in commercials in New York City at the time. I'm talking back 1987. It's like around that time. They see a shot. And that's my, I thought I shut the phone off, I guess. I don't know how to do it. To turn around, Jeannie Gubow comes and audits everybody in the class, and we got to do this commercial. Everybody do different commercial. I think I was an industrial with the hard hat, walking around, The end of that class, she says, I want to talk to you. So she says, I want you to come to my office tomorrow on Park Avenue South. She says, I want to sign you. You want to sign me? Yeah, I'm going to sign you. Okay. I go to the office, big office, agents, commercial. I booked the first 5 commercials I went out on in New York, but New York Daily News. So, but I mean, that's like, there was no acting. If I went over there, you're a cab driver. But anyway, that was the beginning. So now Frankie said to me, he says, "Hey, you're doing pretty good. They're fooling around." He says, "They're looking for guys for this movie that Nick Pileggi, who I had met, he come down the bar. He used to be with the Associated Press. He knew all the wise guys in Rayos, and he my friend." He says, "Nick wrote that book, Wise Guys." I said, "Yeah, we all got a copy of the book," and he came down. He says, they're doing a movie. And this is like 1989, you know? So why don't you go down in Juliet Taylor's office? Now, the coincidence, I met Juliet Taylor about 3 or 4 years before at the bar. And she loved me. You know, I had the peak hat on. I looked like I just come from a hit, you know? So I remember Julia Taylor. She's a nice woman. We had a drink at the bar. So Ellen Lewis was working out of Julia Taylor's office on West 57th Street, right? So I go up there. I don't know what, you know, I'm sitting there and I see these guys that I seen on TV. And I said, "What am I doing here?" You know, I got like a little intimidated because I don't want to make an ass out of myself. These are actors that I've seen on TV. So one guy says to me, "So what are you here for?" I says, "I really don't know." I said, "Maybe the woman needs a cab or something. I have no idea what I'm doing here." I said, "But I'm here." So Ellen Lewis hears me speaking to this guy. She runs out of the office. She says, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm Johnny Williams." And says, "You know, who are you?" She says, "I'm Ellen Lewis." She says, I love the way you speak." I didn't know her. Shakespearean. You know? She liked me right off the bat.
Because, again, it's you. You can't create this. You can't teach this.
I guess not, but it's funny because 3 days later, she shows up at Rayo's with Marty Scorsese.
No.
And, yeah, and somebody called me and says, "Hey, make sure you're down the bar tonight." I'm down the bar every night. What are you talking about? I lived up the block. You know, I ended up back in the neighborhood after I got separated and all of that crap. I ended up on 14th Street, right? So I'm down the bar. Here comes Ellen Lewis down the stairs into the bar with Marty Scorsese, and she sees me. She goes, "Johnny, what are you doing here?" I said, "What am I doing here?" "What are you doing here?" "I live up the street," I told her. She went, "Oh." And, you know, and Marty looked at me. He didn't say anything. And they went and sit down. Meantime, we're at the bar. Who comes down? Angelo, cheesecake. Like my father, Angelo, rest in peace. You know? He comes down the bar. And instead of coming over to the bar, he walks right over to Nick Pileggi's table. And he sits with them. So now they're there. I'm at the bar 15, 20 minutes. I got to break balls, right? I go over to the table, and I go over to Angelo.
No, like I got to break balls. People wouldn't do that, but you would.
I go over to the table, and now, evidently, they must have spoke, like, Nick must have told Marty who Angelo was, you know. Mm-hmm. Lucchese mob, the whole routine. I go over to the table, and I said, "So," I go right to Angelo. "You passed us up at the bar like a freight train passes up a hobo to come and sit with Hollywood. You ought to be ashamed of yourself." And I give him a tap on the chin. Marty looked at me and said, he knew his reputation. He didn't know mine anymore. Who's this guy? You know? Meanwhile, that's like my father. And Ansel turns around and goes, "Hey, Fatso, how you doing?" Yeah. "What are you doing?" I said, "Yeah." So Nick says, "Oh, you know, Marty, this is Johnny, this and that." And Ellen Lewis says, "Yeah, Johnny came in to read a couple of days ago. I love him, you know, this and that." Yeah. So I don't sit at the table. I go back to the bar. Best move I could have ever made. I went back to the bar, right? Now, who comes down? Petey Neck, right? Mm-hmm. He comes over to the table and he does James Cagney to them because he's nuts. Rest in peace. Another guy, he's out of his mind. Just did 7 years in the can. He's, you know, we're all, you know. And but Scorsese ended up casting Petey Neck. He cast Mikey Black. He cast me. out of Rayo's. Because we're the real deal. We're the guys, and we're 3 deep at the bar. People come down. The legend of Rayo's is us.
Yes.
Really, the truth. We were at the, I mean, guys used to bring girls down there, Wall Street guys, hedge fund guys, doctors. Their girls used to get up and drink with us because these guys are stiffs. They come up. We
100%.
No, we every night was a movie set in Rayo's. Believe me when I tell you. So that's how I got the call to go down to meet Marty and read for him. Now I'm going, oh my God, and I know what it is to read because with the school, I got a little bit of an education on what to do. But meanwhile, I'm in my deli. I got to go down here to Warner Brothers on Rockefeller Center. My other deli that I got downtown, 50 cents, another story that's in the book too. Who my partners were. Anyway, I was partners with the mob, but that's okay. But I survived it. So turn around. I told you, got mustard stains. The God's on the shoot, mustard stains. I throw a jacket over the shirt. I had no time to go home and change. I throw a small jacket over the shirt, mustard stains on it and everything. And I go down to Warner Brothers, and now I thought being in Ellen Lewis's office was something.
Intimidating.
You got to see. I mean, there was Sal Richards was there. Oh, guys, I said this has got to be the end of it. And I don't want to embarrass myself. So when I go in the room, there's Ellen Lewis there, Marty, and there's an actor that's going to read. We all read the same scene of when. Tony Darrow goes to Paulie and tells him, complaining about Pesci.
Owing the money. Yeah.
No, about Pesci. This guy, he comes in, he abuses everybody. What am I going to do with him? I come to you because, I'm so. He said, I want to make you my partner so you can have control over guys like Pesci, And Savino played tremendous role, rest in peace, my friend Paulie. I did a couple of movies with him. Anyway, so... We're all reading that scene. So I go in, and Marty's going, Johnny, you from up there, right? Yeah, I'm from Harlem. Says you met all the guys. And Nick, we know Nick from the bar. He come down with the book and this and that. And he's talking to me. But as he's talking to me, another actor goes behind the desk across from me, and he starts reading the scene. And, I went, oh, we're doing this now. I said, we're doing it now. As the guy's reading the part of Paulie, I'm reading the part of Tony Darrow. I can't go here, I can't go there. This guy, I don't know what I'm going to do with him. He's reading it by looking at his shoes. He's probably got the script down there. Now, I'm trying to look at him to tell him, what do you want me to do with this guy? This guy come in, he's breaking balls. I need help here. You got to, and I'm trying to get his eye line. I'm trying to, I'm twitching in the seat, and I'm going like, and finally, I see the top of his head the whole time. He's looking at his fucking shoes. Shoes, I got to. He's looking at his shoes. So I turn around, I said, you know what, this is not for me, I'm sorry. I talk to real wise guys like this. This guy's looking at his shoes. I don't know what you're doing here, but I'm sorry I wasted your time. And they're laughing. They're hysterical laughing on the side. So I says, I get my bag. I says, I'm sorry, this is not for me. And have a nice day. I walk out. Next day, Ellen Lewis says, you got a part in a movie.
No.
I says, what? You got a part in a movie. I says, is it a good part? And I'm in the deli on 57th Street, my deli downtown, and I get the call, and they FedExed over the scene.
Script. The scene.
The scene. No, nobody got the script. It was the scene. So now the character at that time's name was Louis before they changed it to Johnny Roastbeef, and Jimmy is De Niro, and there I am, Jimmy Louis. And this, when I walk in the bar, I don't know what
Right.
So I said, well, pretty good, So I put it on now, busy. We had a busy store on the West Side, very busy. I mean, and we used to get a lot of the, this is all going to the book, by the way. We used to get a lot of the soap opera actors from CBS across the street. We were on 10th Avenue. CBS was 10th and 11th Avenue on 57th Street. And they used to come in the store. My store was only 10 feet wide. And we used to get I mean, from 5 o'clock in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, there's a line out the door. It was like one way in and one way out. You had to walk along the wall to get out. You walk in, you give your order. Crazy joint, but good money making. Anyway, so
you have this part now. Do you know that Jimmy is De Niro in it? Do you know that Jimmy's? Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
They told me.
Okay.
Ellen Lewis, when she called me, she said, "No, it's good." She says, "You're going to be with De Niro, and you're in trouble with him, and you're fine. You read it, I said, yeah. So turn around. Guy comes in from the soap opera, one of the stars, blonde-headed kid, nice kid, come in. I get him as, what can I get you? Give me, So Bertie, I had 8 kids working for me, 8 people. Bertie, you had a big mouth. He was a little Dominican, 5'2", but the mouth was 12 feet. You're not the only actor in town, he tells the guy. My boss just got a pop because they saw when I got the delivery and everything. So he says, oh, really? I said, yeah, now I'm taking care of the guy. He said, yeah. As a matter of fact, they just sent me the thing. And so I get it for him and I show it to him. So he's reading it. He's going, oh, you got speaking lines. I says, yeah. I said, I'm Louis. He says, oh. He says, who's Jimmy? I says, De Niro. You want mustard and mayonnaise on your sandwich? The guy went. He froze there. Never saw the guy again. Never came in the deli
You
again.
think he was jealous?
I don't know what he was, but when I told him De Niro, I kind of knocked him off his. And that was
hilarious.
it. Yeah.
He's like, look at this guy. He's probably trying for every role under the book, going for every audition. You walk in, tell them you are not the guy. You told them you are not the guy.
No,
and then got the script the next day. I mean, that is probably hands down one of my favorite stories of how it's happened for somebody.
Yeah.
I love talking about the come up. Yours is so unique. It is beyond book worthy, right? It's movie worthy. And it made it to the movies. You made it into the movies, but it's iconic that's really, and it just goes back to like being who you are. Is that you can't, there's certain things. I know when Chaz casted a Bronx Tale, De Niro took some of the neighborhood guys. Yeah. Because he was like, I can't make up this guy Mush. There's nobody going to be better to play the scene of Mush than Mush. No. And so for you, it's just if you want a real neighborhood guy that's no bullshit in these roles, even in the commercial you just did. What was it for?
Fresh Pet. Yeah, it's still on. Yeah, it's great.
It's a great commercial, but it's like you are it's like that's how you know it's real.
Yeah, we're just having fun. At the table. And, that's a situation where a blind squirrel stumbles upon an acorn because commercials, you're up against 400 or 500 guys. You don't know what they're. I was just up for one for Home Depot as a grandpa. I thought I got to get this because my little twins, my daughter's twins, boy and a girl, and they call me Grandpa Roastbeef. This is but I didn't get it. But there's a situation again where they had to cast the granddaughter or grandson and had to be matched up with the grandfather. So the elements and the logistics that are involved are beyond talent and beyond all of that. So getting the Fresh Pet was they were kind of looking for me, because they got Sharippa and Steve, great career. He got off the ground big time with The Sopranos and Blue. And he's a TVQ guy. He's a very recognizable guy. And I got to say, I'm a little recognizable myself in a way,
I posted a picture with me and you from Rayo's, and everybody in the comments, beef, it's everybody knew. Yeah. And I mean, I saw you in the commercial, I immediately knew. But it's so funny because and you've done other things since Goodfellas. Yeah. But what people are what's always gonna resonate is that scene. And that scene's like one of the best in the film, because we just watched everybody get their hit, and it's like it's that moment of you and your wife, and you're having that regular husband and wife moment in a car that everybody has had together, and then there it is, a mob hit, and it's like, I mean, it. But again, the logistics were on my side, even in that situation, because Goodfellas was a 2.5 hour
epic movie, okay? And if you notice the movie with all the characters, there were very few instances that the audience got a chance to really see the character of Jimmy, De Niro's character, being that mean. And it just happened that a lot of the audience in the scene that I come in the bar felt sorry for me because hey, well, I bought the car.
Right.
Like it was a one-off scene. It was like not dramatic. It was like we're having a good time. It's a Christmas party, right? And for them to find me dead and my wife dead, it kind of gave the audience that, wow, this guy is a bad dude. He killed me and my wife. And so it got to be, and then Marty's genius of putting a movie together, playing Layla on the death scene, setting that all, it was a whole day to set that up. I had no idea. So put us in the car. Matter of fact, we were in the car. Franny says to me, we got to act dead. Franny says, Johnny, I got to go to the bathroom. I said, Fran, listen to me. If you don't act dead, I'm going to strangle you to death right here, and you won't have to act anymore. I have to go to the bathroom, too. You don't hear me complaining about it. It was funny. We sat in the car 5 hours.
I was going to say, how long did you have to play dead for?
About 5 hours. We had to sit in the car. We couldn't move because they had it on, I had it raised up for the camera angle, the way he set the tracks up to shoot it. I mean,
just for people, just think like that alone, that one scene alone, 5 hours to be dead.
Yeah.
That's everything it takes. Did you and you walking into this completely fresh?
Wait, I'm in the makeup chair. So now the girl's got to make me up to be dead, the bullet holes and all. And now I'm going, she's putting stuff on me. She says, Johnny, how many bullet holes you want? I says, I'm not that tough. Just give me 2. So she's putting the stuff on, the makeup to make it look like it bled and dried, and then the hole has to look like the bullet. Fantastic work. She even done my hands to make it look like you're dead. The blood left your hands. They know exactly what they're doing. So I'm sitting in the makeup chair, and they're doing all of this to me. And I happened to see a wig on a dummy. So I said to the girl, make a conversation. I says, what's that? She goes, that's Joe Pesci's hair. She tells me. Now, remember, I know Joe Pesci from the Bronx. When he worked with Joe in the restaurant,
From Arthur Avenue.
Yeah, Arthur Avenue. So turn around. I'm in the chair. Who comes in? Joe Pesci just opens the door. He wasn't ready to work. They were, we had the whole scene to set up, but they were there early. And he opened, and he seen me in the chair. So, of course, with all this makeup on, I looked hot, He goes, hey, Roastbeef, you look like shit. So I turned around and I said, hey, Joe, at least when they do my hair, it's on my head. He got mad. He slammed the door and he left. But that was my response to him. Come on. So, this is
a neighborhood guys talking to each other.
Course,
yeah,
this
is Hollywood, but it's Harlem. Well, that was filmed where?
That was in Hillsborough Avenue in Woodside, Queens. Solano's restaurant was under the trestle there. The kids were playing, and they discovered the car. Therefore, that's why Marty set up that shot of how kids would be looking at the grill of the car. They wouldn't be looking over the car because they're small. And then as it turned, you start to see the blood-stained invoice on the car, which at the time, we used to do that. We used to keep the invoice on the car, get all the neighborhood people jealous. Son of a bitch, how does he get a new car?
That is...
Yeah.
What is that? It's pride. It's like struggle. It's like, I guess, I don't know. I love that, though. It's like when people keep the stickers on the hats now. And
I've got a question. So how much of your deli background and running a shop, how much of that goes into your acting? And talk about it. Talk about it if you can.
Yeah. Well, the truth of the matter is that everywhere I've been and everything I've done in my life up to this point goes into everything I do in front of the camera because I can't turn it on and turn it off. It's just there. And so what I incorporate in the wisdom and the knowledge of learning, I'm so eager to learn. I'm still to this day, as old as I am, and I'm an old fart, believe me, I still look to learn. I look because to me it's always an adventure. Knowledge is something you have. I even taught this to my children and my grandchildren. I try to give them a little bit that whatever you do, whatever you experience, that's knowledge. That goes into your bank, and nobody can take it out. You're the only one with the key to that. And so, getting back to your initial question, the deli. Listen. There's so much going on when you are married with 3 kids and you're also trying to run a business that, believe me, at the beginning, I was completely on the balls of my ass. I couldn't even make a $200 bankroll in my first deli on 2nd Avenue, but I had so many beautiful people. The Salento family that gave me their store, it was closed for 7 years. They charged me $200 a month rent on 2nd Avenue in Harlem, but it's still Manhattan. The store was 1,200 square feet. I had a 1,200 square foot basement for $200 a month without at least a handshake. Johnny, we want you to do good with this. So I had to kind of build it again because it was closed. So I had to make it into the deli that I had envisioned, and it became, I created Johnny's Superheroes on 2nd Avenue. And everybody was leaving East Harlem. 1979, it was like Condemnville, Condemnville, get out. And here I am reversing the Pioneer and going back to the neighborhood. I was born 2 doors down. I always said, my mother said I wouldn't get far. and I opened the store, and I opened it with a total of 10 grand. That was it. I got a severance pay, and my in-laws let me $5,000 at the time, and my wife had to come and help me. And believe me, that was the beginning and the end, because when she saw who she married, you got to remember when we first got married in 1974. I was working for Fortune 500 companies, suit and tie, selling Miller High Life in the Bronx, and I was like a sophisticated job. My wife never saw the lunatic that I am. You can get out of the neighborhood for a while, but the neighborhood never gets out of you, And now, when I had to create, I create the store. I'm really. She had to come and help me, and she saw the other side of me, which is not that nice, But and I was, and at the same time, my Galabrace. Mm-hmm. Not to fail, kind of put my marriage on a back burner because it became, I'm going to make this store work. I put my life here. I planted the flag there. I'm going to make my life work. So, and I'm telling you that because in reference to your question, this is all part of Johnny Roastbeef. This is part of who I am. So when I have to go do a part where, I own a business or that's there. Everything that I went through is there. That's the God-given talent. Don't ask me. I couldn't read a book and get it out of a book. No, but that's the God-given talent, that my memory is great. I have a great memory. I remember things that happened. I also remember the way I felt. And you, as an artist, you understand when you could bring what you feel to what you're doing, it connects humanly to people. Not in this, Brad Pitt way, but in that, wow, it reminds me of my uncle. Yeah. And that's, to me, that's the essence of acting and performing, is touching people. That's it.
Yeah. It's relatability. It's a level that you can't.
That's it.
It's complete connection.
The stardom and the business of it, that's the ugly crap that you have to go through. You have to get the agent, you have to get, and again, going back to the neighborhood, I look at the agent like a Shylock in a crap game, a necessary evil.
Now, you said, I didn't get far, but you ended up getting pretty far because I'm speaking to you in California.
Yeah, we're
in LA.
Yeah.
So from Harlem.
Send my condolences anytime.
Because I know what the transition's like for me. Now you do Goodfellas, you go back to the deli, right? You're back in the deli after Goodfellas.
Yeah, back in the club on 14, cooking for the guys.
I love that.
You know, and I did that for 1991 was when I made the trek here.
How that was 89 was Goodfellas?
89 came out in 90. So I was here for the. I got here in February of 91, so I was here for the March show of Academy Awards, where Goodfellas was nominated for Best Picture and Joe Pesci was nominated for Supporting Actor.
Had you been here before that?
No, I was here in 1973. I drove a guy across the country, and I was here for a week, and then I got on a plane and went back. So, yeah.
We won't talk about that story, but no.
Well,
But so you come for the Academy Awards. And then is that when you make a decision to stay?
No, I came here in February of 1991. I drove across with my little TV, my boombox. I kept the apartment on 14, and some clothes. And Franny, my friend Franny came here in January. A girl in New York. Her uncle had a restaurant on the West Side, and she told me, she said, Johnny, we made all this plan. You know, there's no romance involved with this girl. It was just a friend, and she was an actress, and she was making her way to L.A. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take a shot. I'll come with you. But as it turned out, she wanted to leave in January. I couldn't leave in January, so I left about a month later. But she set up the apartment. And she got an apartment by Paramount on Norton Avenue. It was funny. You know, this going in. As a matter of fact, I wrote this chapter in the book already because it's hysterical. She got the apartment. She calls me up. Johnny, I got a 2-bedroom. It's $600 a month, $300 a piece. I says, oh, $600 a month. I said, that's great. Great price. I sent her $500. I said, I'll send you $500. Set it up. Oh, I see the Hollywood sign, and there's mansions. I says, man, for $600 a month, mansions. Wow, you know. I don't know what I'm getting into. And yeah, it's funny. And now I still kept the apartment on 14. So turn around, I get in the car. The night before, we were down Rails, we're drinking. Guys who put 500 in my pocket, who put a G note. And I mean, guys that really didn't want me to go because I was the entertainment. I mean, I entertained everybody. I used to imitate all the wise guys, and they loved it. And, you know, but they said, you got to go. You got to go. And these are guys that never would blow smoke up your ass, and they never would lie to you. So by endorsing me and endorsing my plan to make the move with their backing, I kind of knew I was doing the right thing. And
I love that because it's like when one of us wins, we all win there, and they really,
yeah. So there I go, and I get in the car, I drove across the country. Now, when I got here, the apartment was like one of those bungalow apartments, you know, on Norton Avenue, and you know, Latino neighborhood, all Mexicans, right? Now I pull up the car, and there's like. There's an open back truck with Mexicans drinking beer out of the truck. And I pull up with the car, no garage. You got to park on the street. I pull up, I get out of the car. Hey, man. Hey, you know, they go, hey, man. Yeah. Hi. I said, look at this. I just left a whole bunch of Puerto Ricans on 14. I drove 3,000 miles, and I got the same shit over here. It's just like, it's the same dynamic. I said, what the hell's going on? And it was funny because that's the first thing that hit my head. I said, what did I do? There's only palm trees is the difference. That's all. So I go in, and the apartment, now Franny's in the apartment, and the bungalow, and the screen's got I mean, you know, and we walk in, there's no furniture. I walk in the kitchen, there's no stove or refrigerator. I said, Fran, how did you live here for a month without a stove and refrigerator? She said, oh, Johnny, the food is cheap out here. I eat out every night. Honey, you eat out every night. Oh, there's a taco place around the corner. I says, listen, Fran, I could count on one hand how many times I had a taco. and had fingers left over. I said, listen to me. I got to get a friend. So I was like Sanford and Son. I got the station wagon she had. I went and get a stove, rebuilt stove, used stove, and a used refrigerator. I set the apartment up. Now, I says, what am I, married again? I'm setting up the apartment. I'm putting blinds up. She had nothing. And I told you, I'm fresh off a divorce. I left the house. I had, I lived in a house, my own house. Anyway, and I said, what am I doing here? Now I got to set up my bedroom. I don't have a bed. I meet a woman in the building that took a liking to me, and she says, Johnny, I got a storage facility room, a storage room. Go in there, and for $30, take whatever you want. So I says, okay. I went in there, and she had a twin bed. She had a little chest of drawers and for $30, I made my whole bedroom. I put it together. I got the bed, and I was. Franny didn't even have a bed. She was sleeping on the floor on a rug. I can't do that. And plus, I was already 40 years old. You think what am I, a German Shepherd? I'm going to be sleeping on the floor?
I get this. This resonates with me because this is like that starving artist mentality, but I came here at 44.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need a real apartment.
And plus, you're a woman. You were married.
Yes.
You got a house.
I was looking for apartments. They go, there has no stove here. They had no stove in 2025. They go, it's LA. You don't got to cook. I go, I'm Italian. I have to cook.
Yes, yeah, exactly right. But So it was funny. So I had my little TV, my little boom box, and then another woman that I met 2 doors down. Her daughter was an actress. She was on a soap opera or something. She was an Indian woman, and she took a liking to me right away. As a matter of fact, I had a dream while I was out there that my middle son was drowning in Florida in the ocean. It was so scary. So I called up right away, and I said to my oldest son, I said, listen, you going to the beach? Don't let Matthew out of your sight. I said, I had a bad dream. No, Dad. And I kind of gave them the fright that I had. And I told the story to this woman, and she said, boy, oh boy, you really, was really touching. So she says, Johnny, you don't have a chair in the living room. I got a beautiful chair. We don't even use it, a huge, giant chair. She gave it to me. I put it in the living room. I was like a king with the little TV. Aww. I had everything set up. And then I set the kitchen up. Now, I cook every day. It just turned out, friend, nice girl, pretty and all that, but I could not live with her. She was, very slob. She was a slob of the highest degree. She used to get up in the morning to go to work, and everything that she'd done, I could see. She'd leave a trail, and anyway, that didn't last too long. I think I lasted with her about 4 or 5 months, and then I got out of there. I got another place. I end up. Where did I go from there? I think I lived with Wendy. I think. Oh yeah. I met.
You lived with a lot of women, Johnny.
Well, no, Wendy had the party for Goodfellas for the Academy Awards, and my friend Ronnie introduced me to her. She lived in Truesdale, beautiful, and it just so happened she was looking to rent a room with its own bathroom upstairs in her house, and. That's another funny story. She rented that room to me because of Karen was friends with Ronnie, and Karen was close with Wendy, and Karen got to know me. She says, no, Beef is friends with Ronnie. You could do that. Yeah, but it's only me and my mother in the house. How can we put a man in the house? And then the mother got all nervous, and Jewish people. But then wind up after a week with the mother, she was cooking with me in the kitchen. I had the peppers and the garlic hanging in the kitchen.
In a Jewish kitchen?
Jewish kitchen. She loved me. One day, and Sonny was married to Barry Shear, who was a great director. He had passed away. I never met him. He did the movie Across 110th Street. He directed it, and so they were show business people, even though she was born in the Bronx, Sonny. And believe me, that was a second mother to me. What that woman was so, man, she was so dear to me. When she passed away, believe me, it killed me. But she was, and she worried about me. I gave her a winning horse in the Kentucky Derby. She made
great.
this is the kind of relationship we had. And when I lived with them, like I said, she was on pins and needles, having a strange man in a house with 2 women because Wendy was divorced and she was living with her mother. And but believe me, after the first week, so I stayed there about 6-7 months. Then Wendy had to give up the house eventually. But yeah, that was great because I had my own room, and I was in Beverly Hills because Truesdale is right on the border of Beverly Hills by the Hamburger Hamlet.
Okay.
You know, on Sunset Boulevard. As soon as you see the Beverly Hills sign, that's where I lived, and it was great. I met her neighbors. We're still friends, Charlene. I mean, like I said, very fortunate that I met really great people here, along with the ones that are not so great. Let's put it that way.
And then you stayed. Was that?
And I back and forth 5-6 times. I had the apartment on 114.
I kept my house in New York
got
right
the
now.
apartment. So when I go back and I'd go in the club and no matter how much when I booked honeymoon in Vegas, I'm 4th lead in a studio picture, Castle Rock film. I mean, big time. And I did the junket, the publicity junket for the movie, and Johnny Sandwich. I'm right next to Jimmy Kahn and Sarah Parker, Nick Cage, And when I went back on 14, it did not matter. I was there. We got to cook a frittata. We got Fat Paulie coming. I'm there. I'm cooked. And I said to myself, thank you, God, that nothing has changed for me. The movie business, the artist part is great. It's part of who I am, but it's not what I am.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for me is just staying true to who I am this whole way through.
100%.
And just I'm just a neighborhood girl from the Bronx who happened to be really passionate about making other people laugh.
Right.
And I came out here because I felt like I was done in New York for a while and I needed change, but like going back home, it's like I don't want to feel like anything's changed. I went to the feast. You just said you went back. You went to the feast.
I went back.
I went back this week. I went to the feast. I hung out,
But as an artist, that takes you where you need to be.
100%.
You can't plan your life. There's what's the old Italian saying, you want to make God smile, make a plan.
Right.
And as an artist, that is so true because you don't know where you're going to end up. You just go. I mean, I have my kids, thank God they have their own life now, but I'm in their life. And even if I got to kick the door into being in their life, I call them. I'm on the phone with my daughter 4 or 5 times a week. And I've been very fortunate that my kids understand and they just take it with a grain of salt. Nobody gets, carried away with, you didn't show up here, you didn't show up there. We had an event here. Thank God.
Which is so important.
Very important.
Yes.
Who needs that added, added guilt? I have guilt as it is.
Right. Of course, I get it.
I have guilt as it is.
And that'll be in the book?
Yeah, 100%. That's in the book. So, like my twins, my 8-year-old twins, boy and a girl, Easton and Reagan, the love of my life. I go when I drive. I pick them up from school, and they, hey, Easton, your grandfather, I'm big time, And he goes, oh yeah, Grandpa, we know that. I said, I'm a big shot, right? Oh yeah, Grandpa, we know that. It's like funny. I have that. Listen. No matter what, these are all things that make up your life and just great. But being here is everything. Being here is great. As a fellow artist, you ask me, say, Johnny, you doing a pocket? Count me in. Because even if there's one tidbit out of this little conversation piece that we have here, even if it's one tidbit that touches somebody for you, and it's
as an artist, I'm totally inspired. But I think anybody listening to this podcast is it's like this was probably one of the best conversations just to really show people like this is life, this is how it happens, the good, the bad, the ugly, and that when it's right for you, it's gonna happen for you the way it's supposed to happen. And but all they really did was get to sit down and have coffee with Beef right now. People sat down and had coffee with you. That's what this entire podcast felt like.
Well, another thing too,
it's so much access into you, Johnny.
Another observation is that it's like you said yes. You're a yes person.
That he showed up.
Yeah.
That you showed up.
showed up and said yes to an opportunity.
Look, I'll sum it up.
Yes.
God-given talent is one thing. Appreciation for it is another thing. Humility is another thing. But the responsibility of anyone, and I mean anyone, that has any kind of God-given talent, their responsibility is to share it with everyone they can and to help anyone that's looking to do anything that you have the talent for. That's your responsibility. It's not having talent to have. No, it's having talent to share. That's really what I learned. I grew up that way. I grew up with you share. And this is a talent that I have. It's evident. I'm 38 years in the business.
And you're able to show that because, like Keita was saying, you showed up. Like, when I was listening, like, it's so hard. There are so many excuses I could make not to go to a club, not to get on that plane and come to LA, because it's so much work. You didn't have time to go home and shower, so with a mustard stain on, you put a jacket on and still auditioned. Like, you went into these offices and these schools where I would be intimidated. I have no background here. I'm coming here on a will. Like, but people won't show up. People would be scared. I hated coming to LA and being new at the clubs. I hated having to explain who I was or introduce myself. It's foreign to me, right? We're neighborhood people. Everything I had was always around me. Everybody I knew was always around me. But you showed up for yourself, and that's really what made you be able to share your talent with everyone. Like, it was because you showed up for yourself.
Yeah. You have to show up.
Yeah,
you have to be present. And I think that's one of the keys to even having talent in this business, is to be present at all times. And, you know, this whole thing of performing, and like you go to the actor's studio and they give you all of this stuff that, well, I put the board in front. No. You show up, be authentic, truthful, and heartful. It's got to come from the heart. When it comes from the heart, man, everybody gets it. They all get it.
It's how you got it. It's how you got everything you got.
Yes.
That's
probably also what made your deli such a winner. Like, I have a history in cooking too. I had a small catering outfit out here.
Yeah.
And it was wildly successful, but not because I was the best chef in town. It's because I loved every second of it, and it was so fun. And it was performative.
Yes.
It was like there was always a beat to it. You know?
Oh,
what I
yeah,
mean?
100%.
And my secret is I always made a sauce for every party, because the sauce allowed me to go up to everybody. It was like my passport to talk to everybody and getting people's, you know, like, try this, try that. I mean, it was a blast, and that's why I wanted to hear about that, because that part of me at the time, I was just looking at that as like, this is just a way I'm making some money to do my art that wasn't making money. But it ended up being like the most incredible training ground.
100%.
For not only performance and the metering of performance, but also learning and observing and like.
Yeah.
But it's the heart though. Like what you just said about the heart. That's.
But I'll give
awesome.
I'll give you a little tidbit.
Please.
That you would appreciate, being that you were a caterer. When I was doing Honeymoon in Vegas, remember my fourth lead studio picture, you know, I have a production assistant. Johnny, I'm here for you. Do me a favor, get lost. No. You want coffee? I don't want anything. Every time you get me something, I feel like I got to give you $20. I don't. He said, so Jimmy Kahn, we're talking. So I said to Jimmy, I says, yeah, Jimmy. He says, yeah, where we on the west side of the deli? I said, yeah. I said, Jimmy, you have no idea. I said, guy comes in the store. I says, in my head, you know what I want to tell this guy? I like to stab you in your neck. But you know what comes out of my mouth? What can I get you? And he says, beef, that's acting. That's acting.
Wow.
Jimmy Kahn, rest in peace, told me that. That's acting.
Wow.
I love that's.
Because whatever you have going on in your head, and what you're feeling when you're in that store and you're promoting your business and it's your store and you're behind that counter, Those people are coming in for the service you're going to provide. They're not coming in to hear your bullshit. They're not coming in to hear your
Yes.
wife hit you with a frying pan, right? And you. So, good morning, hi, how are you? What can I get you? You know, bang, bang, bang. Especially in New York, because they read you like this. New York, they read you. Here, you get away with murder. New York, they read you just like that. Yeah, and you know, and you have to be on the spot. You have to be jolly on the spot. And again, that's your training ground. Like you said, it's a great training ground for your art, and especially in the performing end of it. You know, I walk in a room, and even getting the job, you walk into an audition. You know, actors are going in, they're all intimidated. I go in the room, I go, I'm going to make your picture better. Now, if you see it, fine. If you don't, next. You know, it's going to be. Well, you know, I mean, and that's the God's honest truth. Unless, and it's not being bravado. It's not being, this, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but you're not being arrogant. You're not being arrogant. You're being truthful. Mm-hmm. You know, arrogance comes from a false sense of self. But when you're truthful and honest, you walk in a room and, hey, what do you think about this? I said, the writing could be a little, what do you mean? Well, yeah, from the streets, the guy wouldn't say that. He'd be, oh, do it your way, Johnny. Do it your way. Boom, 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 you get the job. And again, you're being creative, and at the same time, you're sharing what you know in the street. Guys that are writing, they went, Harvard, Yale, and they took writing courses. Great, they're brilliant. But, I went in for a role. The guy sold swag. I did that in 1968, 67. I used to go down to Jewtown and buy all the clothes, and I used to sell to the guys in the neighborhood. Open the trunk of the car. Let's see, you're size 32, right? You gained a little weight. And you got the pants. So, what's this guy talking about? What am I talking about? They're talking about firsthand. You know. So it's organic. So you want me to go to the actor's studio and sit in a chair like a big vafaril and tell them about acting? I can't do it. I don't know how to act. All I know how to do is be. I don't know how to act. I just go. And whatever you have in front of you, whatever they're presenting as a project, you say, what would I do? And you do it.
That's going to be the Italian American word of the week. Say it again, Johnny. Vafaril?
Oh, vafaril, yeah.
Tell everybody what it is.
Vafaril, you're playing around like a goof. Somebody goofs around, you're vafaril.
I love it. And I love that you said that New York people, they read you, and here you can get away with murder. What are the biggest, I want to hear from Johnny Roastbeef, from a Harlem guy who moved to Hollywood, from Harlem to Hollywood, what the biggest differences are for you for New York versus LA.
Well, Hollywood, first of all, you see the palm trees, you see the Hollywood sign, you pass studio after studio, and I've been fortunate enough to be on the lots of Fox and Paramount and Warner Brothers, and what you have to do is, as an artist, but also as a Harlem guy, you have to make it fit like a glove on your hand, and sometimes the glove may be a little too big, but you know what? You have to extend yourself and make it home. Make the Warner Brothers lot your home. I did it. I did an episode of Lewis and Clark years ago with, what's his name? The kid, nice kid, handsome kid. He plays Superman. And, I went on the lot, and we didn't like the catering. And at the time, I had opened the deli out here in the Palisades. Another story that's in the book, though. And
is it still here, that building,
no,
the Palisades?
It burned down. It burned down. Yeah. But anyway, I had my son put together a catering situation and brought it to...
Catering situation. First of all, who's a catering situation?
Yeah,
I know. I'm not talking because I want him just to keep going, but I need to stress it was a catering situation.
We'll put the definition on this page.
And he brought the food to the lot. And I fed all the extras. I fed everybody. We didn't like the food, And oh, Johnny, this is great. I had the super salad. I had all the Italian stuff from the store. So 20 years later, 25 years later, I'm doing a movie, and a kid comes over to me, he goes, your name is Johnny, right? I said, yeah. He says, you know, you fed me one night. I said, I fed you? He said, yeah, we were doing, I was an extra on Lewis and Clark, and you brought food for us. I says, oh, yeah, I remember we did that. My son, yeah, that's success. Forget about doing Lewis and Clark as a guest star. That kid, when he came over and remembered me like that I brought, which is true, I fed everybody because I hated, the food was horrible. And he came over to me and he remembered, 20 years later, he remembered that. To me, that's a success. And that's the difference with being in Harlem and being here. Everywhere you hang your hat, you must make yourself comfortable, very important, and you must be present in that place. Mm-hmm. You can't look at it like, oh, how did I get here? How's that intimidation should only last 20 seconds. After that, you should figure out a way to, I'm going to make this my home. And then anybody that comes there, they're going to feel like you definitely belong here. You're not an outsider. And that's the key. So I did that with Hollywood. I mean, when I first came driving the palm tree, it was, it was very strange.
Yes, I know.
Very strange. But then you make it home. You make it home.
I made it home. I'm making it home. I found my people, right? You find your people. I knew I can call Johnny. Johnny drove out to Irvine to see me perform.
100%.
And it's just, and I'm finding my people, Keita being one of them, of course, and everybody I've really brought in the studio. I do feel like I've hit a new home here.
Yeah.
I'm making it my own, and it's not because of the palm trees, right? It's because of the people.
That's
it. And I'm being myself, and I'm getting on stage, and I'm not changing who I am.
Nope.
And I think the benefit I'll have to that is that I don't really know too many Johnny Roastbeef and Tara Cannistracis out here in Hollywood. So at the very least, I'll stand out.
But when you came to the restaurant to see me, first of all, you're loved. You know that. I know. You know your family. When you come into that restaurant, even if I'm not there, your family, because they know that already. And that's important. That's something that transcends wherever you are. You could be on Mars, for crying out loud, but that family, that Italian thing that we have, it's so unique.
It is so unique. I got a phone call. I was here. It was when I was like coming back and forth and trying to figure out if I wanted to come out here. And I got a phone call and they said, well, we know you're in LA. And Johnny Roastbeef is gonna give you a call now. I got a phone call from an Italian guy back in the neighborhood, and Johnny called me and said, "You're gonna come to the." And I spoke to you, and I spoke to another friend, Pat, and
and Pat's like my brother.
And Pat, I got to the restaurant, and they said, "All right, now that you're here, if you want to come here, you don't got to be worried. If you need something, you come to us." And it was what I related to the most. I was like, "Oh my God, it's." Dare I say it's like old school because people aren't that way anymore. But it was like, oh, okay. No, I'm going to be okay. And it was just from having like a glass of wine and an eggplant parm at the bar with Johnny at Rayo's that I go, it's going to be all right. Like I found my people.
100%. I mean, look, you create your neighborhood where you are. I mean, I'm in Rayo's. I'm in Los Angeles, in Rayo's. I'm a one-man band. I walk around the room, Johnny on a pony, 1, 2, 3. They look at me like, is this guy nuts or what? I don't care. That's me. The neighborhood stays with me. I spread it in the room, even though I'm only one guy. And the people, they don't get it, but they do get it. They listen to me. That must have been something. They're trying to relate. And in the process of trying to relate, they get a little something. And that's the difference. Then, Tara, you come here, boom, this is your home. That's coming from the heart. Mm-hmm. This is your home. You come here, and everybody knows who you are. Oh, yeah, Johnny, you told us you said that. Because that's what we spread. Mm-hmm. People like you and I, this is what we spread. When I get a call, there's a girl named Tara. She's a comedian. She's doing this and that. She's friends with so-and-so, she's doing this and that. Send it to me.
That's what happened. Somebody calls and they sent me to Johnny.
Send it to me. Don't worry. Send it to me because that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. I got news for you. I'll give you another quick story. Friday.
They love it. I'm sure this is the one episode people are watching all the way through. This is the realest. Friday
night, I'm in the restaurant doing my thing, and a whole bunch of people in the corner of the bar, and they're sitting at the table in the corner. They're up and down. So I go over. Everything all right? Yeah. So the girl says, "Hi, my name is Heather, and this is Sarah." So boom, my head. Heather and Sarah. Heather Klein and Sarah Weintraub. So now they're looking at me. I said, those were the two girls that De Niro brought in Mean Streets in the bar, the two matzo greased, Heather Weintraub and Sarah Klein. And they're looking at me like, they're young girls, of course, Mean Streets in 1972, whatever. I turn around. So the guy says, "Who are you?" Like, kind of aggressive. And I says, "Oh, shit, the guy might think I'm hitting on his girl or something." Right. I says, No. Don't worry, I'm with the joint. I says, "I'm with the place." The joint. I said, "I'm with the plate. Don't worry about it." He goes, "Oh, you're an actor, right?" I said, "No, I'm a plumber." And that's what I told him. I says, "Why?" He says, "Oh, no. We just moved here, and we're in the offices across the street. We're with the Bold and the Beautiful." So I said, "The Bold and the Beautiful? I did an episode of that." They said, "You did?" I said, "Yeah, about 20 years ago, I think." I said, because my friend said that episode should have been called The Bold and the Beef. Right? So the guy says, "What's your name?" I says, "I'm Johnny Roastbeef." He says, "Johnny Williams, right?" The guy's the executive producer of the show. Boom, boom, boom. He pulls up the episode I did, 1995, 30 years ago. Now, I see myself, I says, "Holy shit, what a head of hair I had on me."
Still not doing too bad.
He says, "Oh, yeah, you were the building manager." I said, "Oh, yeah, I had the keys. Yeah, I remember." He said, "I'm having you on the show again," he says to me. I says, "Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is what I tell Hollywood people. Oh, yeah, fine, yeah, man. Yeah. No, now," I says, "when was that?" 1995. 1995. So now, we're in Rayo's 30 years later, and this guy, he wasn't there in 95. He's a young guy, maybe 50. He wasn't, but he followed the show all that time. He says, "Oh, yeah, I'm having you on the show." Okay. They said, now the girl tells me, I go, the girl that works for us at the gate, she says, "Johnny, they're sitting at that table. They don't have a reservation for it, and the people are coming. They're going to," and I said, "Oh, Jesus, I just made friends with them. Now you want me to throw them out?"
I just got a part.
So, yeah, right. So I go over and I tell them, I said, "Listen, guys, this table is given out. I didn't know. I thought you had reservations." "No, we got no problem with that." So I went to the girl. I said, "See if we could put them somewhere." So we put them in the patio. But I mean, it just developed that. That's what I mean about you have to be thinking all the time on your feet. That's what I get from the deli and from being in business. You always have to have solutions. You have to be ready to have solutions in your head. It don't matter. You can't panic. You can't just, But I made the friendships with them. And then the guy said he made his night when he saw me on the episode or whatever. And so we got out of it, gracefully. They sat in the patio. They said, "How come we never seen you here?" And I said, and they come in on Monday and Tuesday. I'm not there on Monday and Tuesday. It just happened on a Friday night. And they met me. So again, it's success. It's making your home where you are and being who you are.
But are we going to see you on Bold and the Beautiful?
I hope so.
Okay, good. That's because then this was worth nothing. No, seriously, Johnny, I love you. I love that you came in. I love that this was a coffee talk with you. Seriously, people really felt like they sat down with you. I felt like, and let me tell you something about Rayo's because I know you're there now, and they can hang as many pictures on the wall. You have pictures of Frank there. You can have all the same recipes. But without you, like, I'm not going there on a night that I don't get the real Harlem experience. Like, the whole part of Rayo's is to have that feeling. It's not just a recipe. It's not a marinara. It's not a steak pizzaiole. It's having Johnny Roastbeef there. So that, to me, is worth the check. Like, that to me is worth the price of admission because they're getting the same show. It's, Johnny Superheroes meets Rayo's meets the Pink Cadillac. And if you're going to Rayo's, you got to go when Johnny's there because,
we have fun. unique
It's
experience.
the real experience.
Here's a question. Last question: sauce or gravy?
Well, there's two different things. You got marinara sauce and you got gravy.
Okay.
Harlem,
Okay. So we both
represent.
win.
Gravy's when you put meat in it.
That's it.
And then when you have
So
a
we
regular
never called
sauce.
it gravy at all. And
Yeah.
we're from Calabria too. So we
Yeah.
might be related.
And gravy.
But we never. But we're upstate New York. They said sauce.
Yeah, but when you're from the south of the United States, you say gravy, they're looking for like brown gravy on,
Right.
you know, on a
On
chicken
mashed
fried steak
potatoes.
or something, you know. But, you know, gravy is the meat.
Yeah.
You know, you get the sausage and the meatball and the braciole and not out here, but in the pork skin they don't do out here. but-
Goldena. I just talked about
Goldena,
I
yeah.
just talked about Goldena on air with John Edward. I said it was the pig skin my mother used to roll. And it would make the sauce, because it was becoming gravy, it would make it really oily too a little
Yeah,
bit. But
yeah,
it
'cause
made
it's
it
fat.
dark because it's fat. And the
Yeah.
Goldena my mother always made.
Yeah, and we use the pork bone.
Sometimes spare rib.
In the soup. The pork bone in the soup. Yep.
What's your talk about your meatballs? What's your secret to your, or you don't have to give away.
Well,
a
the
secret,
Holy
but-
Trinity:
That's it.
pork, beef, and veal. The Holy Trinity.
Me too.
Gotta have that. The pork
Do
gives
you
it the
put
extra flavor.
breadcrumbs or do you put actual bread?
Well, there's a couple of ways you could do it. The breadcrumbs could make it dry, so to avoid that, you could use
I do breadcrumbs with milk.
the white part of the bread with some milk.
That's what we did.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
do breadcrumbs, but I add milk.
The extra fat in the milk, it creates a little moisture too for the meatball not to dry out. Yeah, but I mean, you want to start a war.
Yeah, I know.
You
yeah,
want to start
yeah.
a war. Forget Ukraine and everything else. Ask 5 Italians how to make a meatball. You'll have an instant war on your hands.
Johnny, I wish I could produce everything and just put you in it. You make everything better just by being you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming into Cawfee Talk. Guys, I know this was a great one for you, as it was for myself and for Keita. Thank you for having coffee with us. Johnny, tell them about the book before you go.
Yeah, so
Anything else you want to promote, by all means.
Hell's Gate Station, 10029 to Beverly Hills, 90210. That's the journey. That's the book.
And do we know when it's coming out yet?
Probably the spring.
All
I'm
right.
working on it now, and I just don't want to put pablum together. I want it to be interesting. My voice in the book, the main thing is that I get what's in my heart, and I'm not even worried about financial gain from this. Just want to, if it touches one person, it did the job.
Well, if it's an audio book, it has to be your voice, because that's the real experience. But
Are you on
guys,
the
the minute I
socials?
get my hands on that book, I'm gonna send it your way. Are you on social media?
Facebook. I
Facebook.
got Instagram. I couldn't give you the address. I don't know it. TikTok. I don't do. I'm even to do a Zoom call, it becomes like an issue. I start breaking cans in the house. I got the phone on top of the can of tomatoes. It's like a commotion. If they filmed me trying to make a tape out of myself, that's an episode in a movie. Believe me.
Tomatoes, guys. Tomatoes. All right, guys. This is Cawfee Tawk. All my shows are at tarajokes.com. One more time for Johnny Roastbeef.
Thank you.
Cawfee Talk.